I'm Piercy Janewell, and you're listening to Unsubscribed. Every episode, I sit down with business leaders to help you question everything you thought you knew about marketing. If you enjoy this show, please do subscribe and leave a review on YouTube or your favorite podcast player. Now, on to this episode. My guest today is Toby Murdock. Toby started Highway Education, a public benefit corporation that provides aspiring professionals a quicker, more affordable pathway to digital marketing careers. And he is our first returning guest as well. So, Toby, welcome back to the Unsubscribed
I am
podcast.
so glad to hear. And being the first returning, am I in those trophies behind you? I feel like maybe I'm entitled.
Yeah, we're gonna need to get a new nameplate on that, maybe on one of the golf ones.
I want the hockey one.
I wasn't a great athlete, so I don't have too many trophies, but we can make some business trophies here. And one reason that I thought it was important to get Toby back on is that I really do think we're in a talent crisis right now for marketing operations. It's not getting better. And Toby just authored the State of Marketing Operations Talent 2022, where there's really a deep dive into where we're at right now, some of the challenges we have ahead of us, and some ideas on how we get out of it. And I think Toby is doing more than anyone right now to help us get out of that. So, it's great to have you back to dig into this a little bit more.
Well, thank you to have me here. And I must say, regarding said report, you lent your voice to the report, so you got to give yourself some credit too, despite your Canadian humility instincts.
Thank you for having me on. It was great to contribute. So if we look at this, I think if you look at marketing operations, the demand for marketing operations professionals is growing. The investment into marketing ops, people and tech is growing. The team sizes are growing, but the talent gap is not, closing at all. And I think the talent pipeline is worse than ever. What is going on?
Well, I hate to just go back to simple economics, but it's just supply and demand. You talked about all of those factors that are boosting and revving up demand, right? Like so much more supply. I mean, demand for talent, but where's the new supply coming from? You mentioned our study. It was, I think, 93% of people we asked, how did you get into marketing operations? Did you go through a formal training program? We recruited into it, or did you just kind of fall into it? 93% said they fell into it. And so
that sounds very scalable, Toby.
Yeah, exactly.
Very scalable.
For the early kind of pioneers of the industry, people like yourself, that's great. And I hear some people like, well, when I started marketing ops, you're like, no one taught me squat, and I had to walk uphill both to and from work, and it was so hard. And it's like, okay, and that's great for all you early pioneers. But to your point, Pierce, this is no way to scale like a multi-billion-dollar segment of an industry, right? And if you look at like engineering, right, like mechanical engineers, right, there's a certain amount of demand per year, and there's a certain amount of new supply that's generated by our education and training system, or architects, or whatever else. But then marketing operations is a similarly like highly technical and business-oriented endeavor that requires significant training in order to be good at it. But there's no such training occurring, no such generation of new supply. So if demand keeps going up and up and up, and the only way we get new supply is people falling into it, that creates, a whole host of problems for the industry. So, we need to generate new supply in a more systematic way.
Do you think this is similar to what sales operations professionals went through when Salesforce was growing?
Yeah, and I think it persists, frankly, with Salesforce. There's beginning to be some, new approaches to generating talent in sales operations, but they're in a similar crisis themselves.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's what happens is like, like mechanical engineering, demand initially was nascent, and so like universities took their like 3 decade long evolution cycle to catch up and were able to get there. But this is, digital things happen at much sharper curves of explosion, and our existing systems are not capable of keeping up and adjusting to that demand. I also think they think, frankly, in a lot of schools, they think this stuff is beneath them. Right? They just don't want to do it,
Hmm.
and so we have to
Yeah.
try to experiment and find new approaches to either generate new supply or make our existing supply much more efficient, such that they don't have to go around and say adjust around email templates and get into doing
Yeah.
HTML and stuff like that. And more can use a great system to generate their different kind of creative outputs. I don't know if you have any suggestions on that front, Pierce, on just making the new
Yeah.
supply more
Yeah.
productive. But
Yeah,
it's those
definitely,
two factors which will get us there.
Yeah, thanks for teeing me up there, Toby. Yeah, obviously, and I think I commented that in the study, which is that,
Yep.
I think we need to open up the net on who can come in and help marketing operations professionals. Right now, we see so many huge barriers to entry on a lot of the job postings still. You need to know HTML and CSS. Like most people don't know the basics, let alone those two specialized skill sets. And so I think, platforms like Knak can help reduce what you need to have on your job requirements. But going back, you still need that fundamental base level training for marketing ops. And I
Yep.
think I do look at Salesforce and how they started the Trailhead program and how
Yep.
anybody can go in and learn for free on their platform. I think that the marketing automation vendors need to do more of that. I don't know. I don't know if any of them
Absolutely,
do,
yeah.
the ones
So
I'm
Salesforce
yeah.
has opened up, and people can, use an instance of Salesforce for free, i.e., the Salesforce Sales Cloud. That's not true with Pardot. That's not true with Eloqua. That's not true with
Yeah.
Marketo. Those
No.
are a multi-$1,000 investment. It is true with HubSpot, which I will say
Mm,
HubSpot is gaining a lot of market share, and
yeah.
HubSpot has a fantastic academy as well. But I would still say there, Pierce, I have a lot of, all I do is talk to MOPS employers, and they say, I love these, HubSpot Academy certifications, but that's not enough. That's not enough, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It still isn't
Yeah.
enough. To get people to be actually job ready is not a totally asynchronous, go watch these videos and take these quizzes online and that will get you there. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
for an extraordinary few, but
Yeah, yeah.
use your word from before, a scalable solution that really can pump out the numbers the industry needs,
Yeah.
it's not good enough. It actually takes synchronous human interaction, instructors who are live,
Yeah.
giving feedback, holding people accountable, in project practice that really simulates the real world. And
Mm-hmm.
that's interactions, that's stakeholder interviews, that's defining requirements, that's presenting results. And so I think there, even though things like Trailhead and the HubSpot Academy have moved the ball forward, it's not enough to getting
Right.
people truly job ready.
So is highway education scalable?
Oh, that's a great question, and I'd say the answer is still, the jury's still out on that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm figuring it out as I go with highway. I just made a really big shift in our business model to try to make it more scalable. So historically, we've been a school that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
charge tuition up front, and we're mission based. We bring people in and we train them before we charge them anything, and then look to get them jobs. As much as we tried to make that a way that aligns with our mission and is scalable, I found that a lot of people were like, okay, so I have to quit my job, figure out how I'm going to support myself, do this full time for 4 months, and trust you that I'm going to end up at a better place. And so we've just switched to a model where we actually hire people from the get go. We recruit them for a job and we hire them and we start paying them while we train them.
Wow, that
And I
sounds
think,
amazing.
I
Why?
guess so.
Yeah.
Or stupid, what?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's what a deal. If I'm on the outside looking at this, I look at marketing ops salaries are going up every year. The
Yeah.
demand is going up every year. You can come in and start off at a very good salary, and now Toby is going to actually pay me to get in on this amazing career opportunity.
Yeah, I hope so, and hopefully that
What's
will
the
make the whole
catch,
thing more
Toby?
scalable. There's no catches. We did it just in order to again serve our mission and to have the value proposition on the talent acquisition side to get the level of talent that our employers and our clients want. So this is the first cohort we've done that with. It was really kind of transformative, and in the talent level we were able to acquire. And just to be honest, it also took our cost of acquiring down much
Mm,
lower. Now, obviously, we're spending for months paying people, so the net of it
yeah,
is a
yeah.
much more significant investment. But it made, I was struggling to feel when you say scalability that my school approach did not feel scalable in terms of being able to bring in the folks I need. And this change
Mm.
makes me feel that there's a more scalable future ahead, but
So,
time will
so,
tell.
so the people who are applying to be part of your job now, like, where are they? How do they hear about you? What what backgrounds do they have? And why are they telling you they want to get into marketing ops?
Yeah, I would say that what they hear from us, first of all, mostly LinkedIn and Indeed. So now that's another beautiful part of you know, what we were doing before, this kind of like 4 month vocational school that doesn't charge tuition. It's like people don't know what that is, right? They don't know where to look for that. They're not even expecting to do that. Are we an MBA program? Not at all. But they expect to look for that. So it was hard. We weren't getting in front of a lot of interest, right? A lot of intention. Whereas people are looking for jobs all the time, right? And there's
Mhm.
really inexpensive and ineffective ways to, you know, get in front of that intention. Um, and so that's how we find them. They're generally marketers of some sort already. Typically, they've been maybe doing some social or PPC or SEO, that
Mm.
kind of thing. And they've been doing it for a while, and they have a number of certifications, and then they're looking to kind of though change trajectory, right? And um, those jobs, take social media marketing. Supply and demand are much more aligned, right? There's a pretty big supply of people who are adept
Mm.
at Instagram or Twitter or whatnot
Mhm.
in
Yeah,
our
yeah.
country, and relative to the demand on a professional side. And so they're looking to get in a place where they can have more career acceleration. They're maybe a little more technically minded. And so that's their kind of desire and their intent to switch over with us. They've been working in marketing, but yeah, they want to get to the next level, and they see us as a good pathway to do so.
And what kind of like how quickly are they getting jobs once they graduate your program? What's your placement rate right
Well,
now?
this new model is um, this new model I told you about where we're hiring, it's current. They just started their third week of training, so they haven't
Okay.
begun to place
Yeah.
yet. So they,
And
like
how
I said,
long
the
is the
jury's
program?
there. The training now, we've condensed it. Now that they are employees, we feel that we've been able to kind of condense it from 16 weeks to 10 weeks. And so this is
Wow.
a 10-week training program.
And it's full time, like every day, like a
Full time,
regular
all
full
day,
time
every
job.
day. Yeah.
Yeah.
A big thing we do is at the beginning, before we hire, I have a call with each one of them. And one of the things I just impress upon them just to make sure expectations are aligned before they start. I'm like, the training program is really intense. It's really demanding, right? We have hours and hours of class time every day. And in addition to that, you're going to have to spend hours and hours working on projects and cranking out stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, speak now or forever hold your peace. Like, right. Like,
Yeah.
are you ready for that? Are you ready to do that? So we try to make that crystal clear.
And is there an exam at the end of it, or how do you know if they
Uh,
kind of
it's
get
not
through?
really exam based. It's much more project based.
Hmm.
It's much more learn by doing based. Yeah, they get Marketo certified and HubSpot certified and that kind of stuff. But it's our focus of, we think it's much more important for them to have really holistic projects that really mimic what they're going to be doing end to end. So they'll start with, say, a mentor who does a role play, and they'll interview that mentor to distill requirements, understand what are the goals for this campaign, what are the
Hmm.
tactics, what are the strategies. They'll take all that in, they'll write up a campaign brief, they'll present it back to the mentor who will give them feedback, tell them if it's good to go. Then they
Hmm.
might build out a funnel and show the intended conversion impacts of this campaign and the goals it's going to have. Then they might go into the map tool and build out some audiences and some lists, and then they build out campaign assets and workflows and metrics dashboards, and then they might do some pair programming and QA each other's
Hmm.
campaigns before they go live, and then they might and they'll use
And
Knack. Sorry, they'll use Knack. Obviously, when they're building those landing pages and emails, I should have mentioned that. And
amazing.
then
That's
it'll go
awesome.
live, and they'll capture metrics on how it performs, and they'll write that up in a kind of a campaign report, and then they'll go back to that mentor slash role play executive sponsor and report the progress. So, and then they'll do that, and they'll do that again, and they'll do that again, and they'll do it again, and they'll do it on Marketo, and they'll do it on HubSpot, and they'll do it on Pardot. And it's these reps
Wow.
of doing
Yeah,
the
that's
real
awesome, man.
work um, over and over again. That is what we think is the key to being job ready. And that,
Hmm.
to us, that's a lot more important than passing a test, though we have them take and pass the
And
tests.
and what feedback are you hearing from the employers who are hiring these people?
Well, it's been pretty good. I'd have to say some of the kindest come from one Joseph Peters, who you know quite well, if that's
At
okay for
Revenue
me to say.
Pulse. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
no, we're a
CEO of
happy
Revenue Pulse.
employer.
Yeah. So yeah, I think what the key elements of feedback that we're hearing from people, it's this mix of I was just on a call with one before I got in here with you. It's this mix of things. A lot of it is just like, I have all these senior people who are super capable, and they keep getting stuck doing work that's way behind them. That's what the guy said on the call I just got off with. Like, I want them to be able to delegate so that they can focus on the strategic stuff. They can focus on our long-term, like, architectural roadmap, and they can't, because we have no one around who can do the junior stuff, because again, there is no new supply of junior people. And so we're stuck, and that leads to people being frustrated, to people leaving, to people being burned out, not to mention making an inability to make the progress on the strategic stuff that they want to make progress on, just because this segment of the labor market almost doesn't exist, right? Like the person
Hmm.
with 5 or 7 years of experience that gets paid, 150 to 200K a year. Like there's, there's those are the known existing quantity, the known existing kind of product that exists in the labor market. But the younger folks, and they don't have to be younger, but the less experienced folks that are more affordable, that are excited and willing and capable of just executing on the more kind of foundational stuff, they don't exist.
And so this is where we need to work together on this, because I agree that there's a talent shortage, and that's part of the problem. But the other big problem we see for the marketing ops people that prevents them from being strategic is that campaign operations side of the house. Usually that's where they're spinning a lot of their wheels and spending a lot of time there, adjusting templates or being that centralized team that builds all of the assets, because they're worried about it becoming the Wild West if they're not involved. And that is also a big part of where Knak can help, is actually empowering the other marketers that actually exist already in the organization to be building their own assets, so that the marketing ops people are not involved in the creation at all. They're just sending and executing the campaigns. Like that, even without new people, can really help them be more strategic. But I agree. We need more. It's a reverse pyramid of people right now, where a lot of people have a lot of skills, and there's not to your point, there's not a lot of the new pipeline coming in, which is so important. And there's no one to learn that from. No universities are providing that. Colleges like that need. I think that is the gap that you're solving right now, which is super important.
But I agree with you on the other point. I remember a time in like web app development, which is what you're currently doing at Knak, and I used to do some myself. And it was such a log jam, like design and front end development and product management, and just the productivity lost at the convergence of those three people, and the lack of tools to have them work well together, right? And that it would have to be this handing back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, and things like Figma and a whole bunch of other tools have really revolutionized the productivity at the convergence of those functions. And I think that sort of reminds me of what you're talking about with marketing ops and the other members of marketing, and these boundaries between tools and systems, and how something like Knak can reduce those barriers and allow those teams to work so much better together.
Yeah, I think it's the people, process, and technology at the end of the day.
That's a unique trio you've
but
just
I
put
think
together.
you're fixing the people component of this. We're trying to do the technology, but I think the technology can help the process a lot as well.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting thing about something like Figma too. It's I don't know. I don't know if you.
I think Figma has great. We're doing a lot of the stuff Figma has around brand control. Like you can load your colors and your fonts into Figma and make elements that are consistent across anything that you design. We have that in Knak. I think the other thing that's important now is like real-time collaboration with the different stakeholders, which we also do. But yeah, all of those things are huge friction in the campaign operations process, where if you're just using a marketing automation platform, those are all friction, because the platforms don't help you with any of that. They were never built to do that.
No.
So
they're meant for a small group of specialists instead of to participate in the wider marketing organization.
So you have some videos on your website of some of the students that have graduated from your program. And it was, I mean, even for me watching them, it's pretty amazing to hear their stories about how it's changed their life and how you know, they're happier than they were before. They have steady jobs. They've increased their salaries. Like, how does that has to feel good? Like, how
Yeah, to tell you the truth, that's a
yeah.
lot of why that was my intention in choosing to do this. After I sold my last business, I felt I had the privilege and the opportunity to do something that was more socially impactful. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, beyond those videos, just knowing these people and working with them um, has been great. But I'd say the thing I'm most excited about, because I'm also very much into Highway being a business and not a charity. Like, we're a B Corp, which is a business with a mission, as opposed to a nonprofit that's just a full-on charity and relies on charitable contributions. Instead, we're a business and we need to work sustainably for our clients and for the people that we serve on our mission. And it's cool because we're figuring this out as we go, to be very honest.
Mm-hmm.
And part of our mission, we're trying to get people from these disadvantaged communities, and we're trying to deliver to employers the kind of people that are going to excel. And employers want generally, we've had people in their 50s go through our program, which is awesome, but generally you go through with younger people, right? They're kind of more junior in their careers. But the downside with younger people is often they're not that experienced. They haven't developed a lot of maturity and determination, right? That comes with time. And the cool thing that we're finding, Pearson, this is the thing that probably excites me the most, is we go to these people with disadvantaged backgrounds, say people from immigrant families, right? Like, they haven't had, like, I had a pretty privileged upbringing, right? They haven't had them. But so when they're at 25 or 27, they already have put in a solid, like, decade, 2 decades of overcoming adversity, of like
Mm-hmm.
challenges. They went to community college for 2 years and then finished up college somewhere else, and they were working straight through it all. Like, they have a long work history, right? Like, this one woman in our program, like, she basically raised herself. Her dad was out of the picture and moved back to Latin America. Her mom worked so much, she basically raised herself. But the cool thing is then how I'm seeing our, business value proposition, what the kind of talent we need to bring in to satisfy our employer clients, and our social mission sort of intertwine, right? That
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
in finding, as we learn more and more about what our sweet spot is in terms of the talent for us to recruit, we can serve both our business value proposition and our social mission simultaneously, because the experiences these people have had in overcoming their disadvantages provides them with the capabilities that employers want in recruiting for their team. So that's the part that I'm kind of
Mm-hmm.
most psyched about, that it's just kind of more recently we're learning
Yeah,
more and
yeah.
more what that's about, and how to find that person.
Some real product market fit there. Uh, yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I mean, it's so great when things are a win-win like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. One of your students talked about how, his alternative was spending like $30,000 on a 2-year MBA and a bunch of
Yeah.
time and money. And he said, look at this. I'm 4 months in and I'm already way ahead of where I would have been had I done that, like taken that other route. I just think for you, there's so much opportunity, and for the students, so much opportunity to move quicker and
And that student, that guy,
accelerate
he's a
things.
father of two. He's a father of two. So you have to think with him too. If he did that for 2 years and had to stop working, they need all that income. I know
Yeah.
it's a crazy system, and it's sad because we've abandoned the school side of things, right? And so these MBAs, which get people a ton of debt and not much of anything else, oftentimes. I mean, we're not talking about Stanford MBAs here, right? We're not talking about Harvard MBAs. We're talking about, University of Southern Mississippi MBA, or, you know, Northern Arizona MBA or whatever, right? People do these because they're like, how do I move forward in my career? And
Mm-hmm.
this is what is known. And so they take on debt, and it doesn't necessarily get them anywhere, which is super unfortunate. But like I said, that's where the mind share is, in terms of, okay, I'm 25, I want to get to the next level of my career with additional skills and training. There's so much about MBAs and the university system. That's where everything goes. And we found that people just don't even consider alternatives, and it's really
Mm-hmm.
hard to generate awareness of alternatives. And so that's why we moved to kind of the hiring stuff. But yeah, I agree. I think the
Yeah.
value proposition is super strong for people, in terms of, what something like what we do, or alternatives to what we do, can
Yeah.
really be a way to accelerate their career.
Awesome. I know you mentioned earlier Knack is a partner in your curriculum. Can you explain a little bit more about, how you're using Knack and why you use Knack as part of the curriculum?
Yeah, well, a few reasons. One is we've had clients ask for it. So, I mean, that's a big one, that, clients are like, yeah, we use Knack, and we want people to be, trained in Knack. And I think, much to your point, why make all of these, you know, capabilities around design be an area of focus, or why not, they can instead have software do that, and then we can put our time and focus into, data hygiene, or into, generating and analyzing big data and metrics, or creating, powerful workflows, right? Like, why do that?
Mm-hmm.
Why not allow our focus to be in those value added areas, if software can do well this, this work of making sure that the marketing operations, the assets that are generated, are visually pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we saw it as a fantastic way for us, and it's becoming so prevalent in the market that we've had clients ask for it. And then, furthermore, the team at Knack has been great. I've mentioned to you, a number of them have really gotten behind our mission and served as mentors. So it's been a partnership overall that we're very grateful
Awesome.
for.
Yeah, and on that topic of design, our mission is really to empower people to be creative, and that's why we built the platform and made it super easy for people to build anything. And our customers love us for that. But sometimes they said, Pierce, it's so easy to make things now, but I don't always know what I want to make. And
Mm.
so we're actually launching a new feature called the Inspiration Center. And what that's going to be is a library of hundreds of emails and landing pages, not just templates, because I find templates are not contextual. It's great. There's a
Mm.
placeholder image and some lorem ipsum text. But what we're going to do is actually have libraries of real emails from some of the best companies in the world. And they're all going to be categorized of, like, if you're building a webinar invitation email, you can
Mm.
go in there and look at, how Salesforce does it or how Adobe does it, and draw that inspiration, and then build everything like everything we do in Knack with no code. So really excited even more to help people who might not be design inclined to make things that look really great.
Well, that'll be fantastic. I know we already used your template. So once the Inspiration Center is operational, we will
Yeah,
be
yeah.
regularly inspired.
Awesome. That sounds great. Anything else, Toby? Well, two things. Maybe one, you did that big study anything else that you wanted to share with people in terms of what you learned there?
I think what is interesting is when we did the study is how the effects of this supply and demand imbalance that you and I have talked about shows up, and right, and
Mm-hmm.
like I've for years, but especially with COVID, but my LinkedIn feed, which is basically all marketing operations people, I'm sure yours is too. Like it's like burnout, 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 right? Turnover, turnover,
Mm-hmm.
burnout, turnover, burnout, and it's that if the so we got all these stats and data about all that, and it's just that we can't keep the workload is growing. The supply of, again, like the 150 to 225K senior MOPS manager is essentially static. It's like we can't have the same people do more and more and more and expect them not to burn out or not to turn over or anything. And so I think that was interesting to see from the study and draw the lines between supply and demand and how that's leading to this kind of burnout and turnover crisis that so many people are contending with. Um, the other kind of big study I'll say that's coming, we wanted to drill into things further. So there's this overall industry crisis. And then it's particularly bad inside of agencies, because when you think about it, agencies' whole reason for existence is marketing operations talent, right? So they're really struggling with
Mm-hmm.
the crisis. And then there's the HR leaders inside of agencies whose whole job is nothing but talent all day, every day. And so we talk about that as kind of they're in the crucible of the crisis. And we think there can be lessons from the crucible in terms of those people and how they're contending with it all. So we've just identified who we see as the top 30 MOPS agency HR leaders, and we're going to be
Oh,
profiling them
cool.
and their experiences,
Yeah,
and learn from them and kind of ways that they are enduring this talent crisis.
that's awesome. I love that idea. And
Yeah.
then last thing, how do people get involved with Highway? Maybe both from the student and the employer perspective.
Yeah, I'm even going to give a third one, which is the
Okay.
mentor, right?
Okay, yes.
So you
Yeah.
would all go to Highway. We're Highway Digital now, and so it's highwaydi.com. And from there, you can get involved if you want an on ramp into a career in marketing operations. You can, like I said, now it's about applying for jobs, and so we have places you can apply for jobs there. If you're a mentor, if you wanted to support our mission, one great way to do it is being a mentor. And we've changed our mentor program so that it's bite-sized, essentially 30-minute chunks. We created a little portal where we put out little projects that our trainees need. They might need help with a certain thing in Marketo, or they might need to do a role play or whatever it is. And you can just claim one of those and sign up and schedule it and do a 30-minute interaction. So we've made that more accessible for people to do as a mentor. We have guest speakers, people want to come in and share what they want to do. And then if you also want to consider bringing these folks on your team, and now that we're hiring them, you can even try before you buy, and take one of our folks as a contractor consultant before you take them on as an employee, or take them on as an employee, whatever you want to do. You can also go to highwaydi.com and connect with us there and explore that possibility too. So happy to work with people over all three of those kind of dimensions.
Amazing. Love it. I think you're helping so many people by doing this, and I hope that people will be involved. I know there's a lot of marketing ops people who listen to this, so I'd encourage them to become mentors as well. Nick Donaldson from the Knak team is a member, and I know he's really enjoying being a mentor. So Toby, thanks so much for coming back onto the podcast. It was a great discussion around the marketing operations, talent crisis, and what you've learned on doing the study and really what you're doing to try and help solve a lot of these issues. I think it's a really important topic and great to have you behind it. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you, sir, for all your support and for having me today.
Thanks for listening to Unsubscribed, a podcast created by Knak. If you enjoyed this episode of Unsubscribed, be sure to subscribe to my podcast and leave a review on your favorite podcast player. If you have any feedback or want to chat, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or follow me on Twitter at marketing_101. Cheers.